now.
I wish I could.
All right. So, Rich Bisaccia, I think getting rid of him is a net zero, and I'm going to say at best, because I don't think special teams coaches matter that much. There's not some crazy schematic difference between these guys. And
the philosophies could be different.
I've never heard anyone, like, when you talk about special teams coaches, it's about how they bring their energy. Which
okay, I get that.
But that's what Rich Bisaccia is apparently known for, is being the heart and soul of this team, and that's the one thing he had. So I think this is a net zero at best, because if he was all the things that Matt LaFleur and Goody, and we have some audio from Goody, say that Bisaccia was, this actually could end up being a negative. Let's hear it from Goody, and then I'll let you guys go off of it.
You know, what Rich brings to this, our culture, this football team, you know, is just, it's really, he's a very impactful coach around here. You know, I thought we've been better on teams the last few years than we've been in a long time. Our cover units have been better. We got one of the best punters in the National Football. They've got an excellent snapper. You know, Brandon was excellent last year. This year, again, he worked through some things injury-wise and then had a bad playoff game. You know, that was kind of how that ended. But no, I got a lot of faith in Rich and his staff, what they do around here. Not only the X's and O's and what they bring to the field, but what they bring to this place culturally is really important.
Nothing burger.
Molly, you chuckled. Go ahead.
I laughed at Brandon McManus, but then he went on to explain that last year wasn't actually this past year. You just said that he's perceived as being the heart and soul. I think being perceived as the heart and soul is a bit strong. Like, we've heard that he's the culture guy. Obviously, Brian Gutekunst just said it. Jason said it on the show before when he's appeared. Like, yeah, he's a culture guy, but, like, I don't know if he was the heart and soul of this team. But I think, it's tough because I was definitely a person this entire season where I'm like, why the hell does Rich Bisaccia still have a job? Which genuinely, I don't understand why he still had a job with the Green Bay Packers. Like, the special teams was ass this season. And Matt, I agree with you that yes, and Jim, you're gonna laugh at this, whatever, but like, yes, the special teams did cost this team quite a few wins, it felt like. Now, however, I'm very much of the belief that, I don't know, the offense maybe should have set the team up better, or, I don't know, maybe the defense should have set the team up better, that it shouldn't come down to a missed field goal. It shouldn't come down to a drop punt. Like, we can all agree on that. We understand it. But, yes, special teams does play a key role. And, I mean, you look at, I think of the biggest special teams play that I probably saw this season. One of them was the return kick that Rashid Shaheed had against the 49ers, and they ended up beating them in the playoffs, like 41-6. Like, that led the momentum for the game, and the Packers never had that at all this season. So say that he's a cultural guy, sure, but, like, the special teams really didn't show that they had very much culture in them or much fight or whatever it may be. Because every time that they had somebody returning kicks, returning punts, it was a different freaking person. Like, there was never one set person, and I don't know if that's a Rich Bisaccia problem or if that's a Brian Gutekunst problem.
Molly, to your point, I just happened to look this up, and this obviously isn't the end-all, be-all, but you brought up the fact that, and you're right with the special teams. Like, yes, in a moment of specific special teams play can swing a game.
Right.
But good teams don't have their games come down to matter as much.
You say that, but look at the Super Bowl.
But Seattle,
the first 15 points.
Let's look at the Super Bowl. Seattle, average margin of victory plus 12.3. The New England Patriots, number 2 in the league at plus 10.0. The Rams, number 3 at 8.7. So 3 of the top teams in all of football didn't have most of their games come down to the wire. Yes, you have to be able to execute in that moment, but good teams, the offense and defense are so much better that the special teams matters less in the one big moment.
Yeah, I get that. I just also think, like, consistent special teams is what helps continue to build those leads. If you are confident that your kicker is going to make the kick, that's 3 more points. That's building those leads up. Sure, it's not coming down to the wire, but when you've got 6 kicks a game, 5 kicks in a Super Bowl, that's 15 points.
Yeah,
like that adds up.
All 7 of the top teams in average margin of victory last year made the playoffs.
Well, I mean, that's not that surprising, but you're right that it doesn't have to come down to that moment. And I agree that that's the case. It doesn't always come down to it. But to me, this Packers special teams was all about just get the ball into the offense's hands. Like, catch the ball, fair catch it. Like, we don't need returns. We don't need anything. And to me, that philosophy is we're not playing to lose. You know what I mean? Like, there's two mindsets. You can play to win the game, and then you can play to not lose. And when you play to not lose, that's when mistakes happen. It's too safe. I just would like to see something on this special teams where I had like confidence in the different phases, whether it's a kick return, a punt return, or a field goal. There was 0 times this season where I was like, this is a shoo-in.
So when I think of special teams, and I think I brought this up last week that I had the opportunity to talk to, and it's not the same level, but Matt Mitchell, the special teams coach for the Badgers, and kickers and punters, even at the college level, which is more so in the pro level, they have their own guys. And he said they're like golfers. Yeah. The special teams coach does not come in and do anything for the kickers and punters for the most part. Mm-hmm. They might have one specific specialist that works with the kickers and punters just to make sure they're kicking things right. But otherwise, they're just watching to make sure that they're repeating the same motion. They're not doing much more for that. So like the kicker and punter, the actual ability of them is based on that player and Goody bringing in the right kicker and punter, not the special teams coach. And the return side of things, for me,
that's the one that I'm more concerned
I think that's still wildly insignificant. The thing that matters for me, if I as a
but
fan, what I get
do you
upset
think
about,
do you think Rich Bisaccia wasn't involved in bringing Brandon McManus in?
I'm sure he was involved, but
I find
obviously
it hard to believe.
Goody's the one he's the guy bringing people in. Like
Goody's he's the one that signs the final.
Yeah,
go ahead.
But Rich Bisaccia was here. Bisaccia was here when Brandon McManus came here. I don't think that Brian Gutekunst is just going to go out into the world, get an older guy, as he doesn't like older guys, without the influence of Rich Bisaccia and having the blessing from him.
And that's fine.
He probably said, who do you want?
But the actual coaching of the kicker and punter and in those moments are done well beforehand. They have specialists that they pay for that. For me, as a fan, I get the most annoyed with special teams with blocked kicks and punts.
Happened twice to the Packers this year.
That's the part. Yes. That's you. I think you 100% can blame on Bisaccia. Like, that to me is like, what are you doing?
Right.
The rest is players not performing. The Packers are not rolling someone out there being like, don't return a kick for a kickoff, or don't return this for a touchdown. To me, the failure for him that I really could point to is poor coverage or blocked kicks and punts. Those are the things I'm like, what's happening?
Romeo Doubs dropping an onside kick against
Romeo
the Chicago
Doubs,
Bears that ended the game. Like,
that's
personally.
Doubs.
This might sound
I get it, but
bad.
what is the difference between block kicks and everything else?
Because
like,
now you have
why are you easy to blame that on Rich Bisaccia?
It's a scheme and a plan.
Yes, it's a scheme and a plan. And you do that all the time. This is a player not grabbing the ball at the right time.
Making a mistake.
And also, they've had 10 players
but
on the field.
Couldn't a block kick be a guy missing a block? Like,
that's what happened with Luke Musgrave. And,
but that's why. But
Cleveland.
there was multiple this year, and that's why you could start to say that's on Rich Bisaccia. And then also with that, I think when you start talking about failures of Romeo Doubs not grabbing the ball, that's one thing. But when you're talking about having 10 guys on the field for multiple kicks, like over the last couple of years,
multiple years in a row,
right? That's also on the coach. Those are the things I put on the coach.
And remember, on that onside kick or the dropped onside kick, it was everyone else on the team who was not hustling to get that ball either.
Yes.
Nobody else looked like they were aware of what to do in the moment.
To be
so that sounds like a big deal.
So
though.
For me,
if we can name instances over the last how many years, like, and you're saying that special teams is essentially insignificant, like, those are pretty big instances, and it seems like there should be a lot of blame on Rich Bisaccia.
But to your point,
so I don't think it's a net zero.
To your point, how did they get to that where Romeo Doubs was the one that?
I understand. I already said that. I already clarified what I said before. I said that the offense and the defense should have done it more. But also, if it comes down to special teams, good teams probably have good special teams.
Possibly.
Yeah, the Rams were bad. That's why they fired their special teams guy.
And look what happened to them. I mean, they did not make it to the playoffs.
But they got further than the Packers.
They got further than the Packers because they were a better team.
Because they had a better offense and defense.
Again, I just think it's a net zero. You're not going to bring someone in here who's going to add like +2 wins to this team.
I guess, but +2 wins totally changes where the Packers were.
That's not going to happen.
Sitting.
It doesn't exist as a special teams coach.
What do you mean it doesn't exist?
I don't think there's a special teams coach out there that you can directly point to adding wins to the team.
So if I can say, to hop in on that, I think what special teams does is it helps you not to lose games, kind of like what Matt was saying.
But Matt doesn't like that.
No, I agree. But you can play to not lose games. That's the philosophy Matt's talking about. But there are 4 games this season where if the Packers had not made those special teams mistakes, they would have 4 more wins. They went 0-3-1 in those games. It's almost like kind of like offensive line. Like when you have a bad offensive line, you'll lose games because of it. You don't often win more games because your offensive line is good. But if you have bad special teams, you'll lose more games than you would win. Is kind of the but like having great
special
special
teams. It's like a lead in curling.
Yes,
you can lose the game, but you can't win one.
Exactly. It sets you back. It doesn't necessarily push you forward. Like to get to where they want to go, they still need the great offense and the great defense to carry them there. But special teams not having that be a net negative at all times will help set them up better for the playoffs. I mean, shoot, it could have given them a whole playoff game. Maybe they aren't playing in Chicago in the first round of the playoffs, but they're playing in Green Bay.
Well, if they have 4 more wins, don't they win the North?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the Dallas game that ends in a tie, the Cleveland game where they get a blocked field goal that then leads to Cleveland kicking the field goal, the Panthers game when they had another blocked field goal in the game that ended up being a 1-score game, and then also at the end of the year in Chicago the first time when they have the muffed onside kick. If Romeo Doubs doesn't drop that ball, the Packers go on and win in a game where their backup had to play for most of it. Like, even when the offense was facing massive issues, they still almost overcame it, but then special teams bit them again. Like, it will definitely change the wins and losses. It won't raise their ceiling, but it can definitely lessen their floor depending on how the special teams are.
Who had the top 2 special teams this year, according to Sports Illustrated, where they put together net punt, opponent punt, kick coverage, kick return, and field goal percentage?
Broncos, maybe, and then the
Broncos
Bills.
were 22nd.
They're 22nd.
Seahawks.
What's that? Seahawks were 3rd. One of the few playoff teams on the top of this list.
Okay, number 1, I would
Maybe
say
the Niners?
Saints.
I'll say Colts, Jets, Ravens, Bengals, then Texans, another playoff team, Commanders, Dolphins, Giants. Now you got the Jaguars at 10. The Bears, 15th, won the division 15th. The Lions were 13th. Packers, 20th. The difference in points, as far as how they scored everything, the Packers had 87, one behind the Eagles, Bills, and one in front of the Chiefs.
So how many playoff teams are below them?
All right, the Broncos and Rams. Did the Bucks and Buccaneers not make the playoffs?
No, the Panthers
Broncos
did.
and Rams.
I think, but that's kind of what I'm saying. It goes to show that when you have bad special teams, it'll hold you back. It doesn't necessarily raise your ceiling. Yes, the Packers to get where they want to go.
They're within 1 point of the Patriots. They're right there within 1 point of Patriots, Steelers, Bills, Eagles, Packers. All playoff teams.
Yes, but it matters. Yes, ultimately they didn't get where they wanted to go because of the offense and defense. But there's been so many times over the years where the offense and defense has been good, but then special teams lets them down. That's what the Rams were this year. The Rams are the same thing. Where the Packers. Go ahead, Molly.
There's also what sets the Packers apart in terms of the special teams is they were paying Rich Bisaccia a lot of money, and I get it, that doesn't necessarily affect the team. But if you're getting paid more money than the average special teams coach, then you should be above average as a special teams unit. Like, you should be a good unit if you're paying a guy a lot of money to come in and make your organization better in that aspect.